We go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy, and the other fucking guy in the room is Leo at the controls.
Oh,
at least for now.
For now, at least, yeah.
For this moment. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty well.
Great.
Man. It's a beautiful Friday. Love the weather. It's been putting me in a better mood, so
good.
It's good for me.
And Mike is also joining us once again. Mike, you can yell over there into the microphone if you
how's
choose.
everybody doing this morning?
Yeah.
He's going to have to learn how to speak up, but it's okay. We'll get him there. We'll get him there.
We'll work on that. That'll be all good. I don't know why. People were surprised that I was driving the Corvette in the rain. It's like it's rain. It's not snow. It's no ice.
It has some really fat wheels on. Like, what? Are they afraid that you would lose traction or
I don't
something?
know.
Or?
Well, I can't lose traction
I was
right
about
now.
to say, it'd be kind of hard to in that car.
Yeah, that would be true. And it's not unlocked yet. The Corvette,
it doesn't allow you to the full potential of the car.
The full potential of the car doesn't happen until 500 miles. And then it goes through a whole dash change.
So it's an actual internal computer
event.
thing. Interesting.
Yeah. It's like right now is the foreplay, really, is what I would, call it.
The car has to get used to you a little bit.
And it climaxes at the 500-mile mark. So there you go. It's going to be good to go, and we'll be excited about that. So
I'm kind of curious. Does it like show up on the dashboard and everything? It's saying like, it is now.
Yeah. There's a whole change, man.
That's kind of cool, actually. It interactive too.
And I tell you what, the sound difference between that and the Stingray, it's so prominent. It's so different. It's way more supercar-ish than what the Stingray was, at least sound. And I didn't really realize that because I like the sound of the Stingray.
Yeah.
And especially now that it had been broken in over 2 years. And, you get that really
rumble.
deep rumble when you started it up. And this has a nice when you first started up, but still not quite the same. But the driving sound is, it's got that IndyCar kind of sound. Yeah. Just crazy. And I like it. And Dawn got her new truck yesterday. So we upgraded her truck too.
What kind of truck she ended up getting?
Well, she got another Trail Boss.
Okay.
But the Trail Boss she had was actually a 4-cylinder. And
she had a 4-cylinder?
That big
old truck was a 4-cylinder?
That F-150, or not F-150, it's Chevy. Trail Boss.
That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me.
4-cylinder with, a little turbo.
That shit was struggling to carry that thing around, wasn't it?
I think a little bit. She didn't really like the pickup quite. But we like the height. We like the look of it.
Yeah,
it comes automatically from the factory where they raise it 2 inches, around. And so we got an LT version, and hers was a custom. The LT version has the V8. And now it also has leather seats.
That's hilarious.
It's got a sunroof.
From a V4 to a V8 is funny. Just skip the V6 completely.
And it's white with the black.
The interior?
Out. The white truck instead of black truck.
Oh, but you said leather interior. You said
leather interior, gray leather interior.
Gray
very
leather.
nice.
Okay.
Very, very nice. And the running boards were taken off the old truck and putting on this truck. Nice. You got to have. I don't know how people ride around in that shit without running boards. Unless you're over 6 foot tall.
I was about to say,
what I mean?
Jumping into the car.
Yeah, I'm yanking myself in and like, fuck that. So she's excited. So that happened yesterday, and they took really good care of us at Earnhardt. Earnhardt did a very good job.
The one right here in Queen Creek?
Mm-hmm,
Nice.
Right here in Queen Creek. The salesman, Geronimo, was really
Geronimo,
that's his name. I know.
You should be able to
But he was really good, and the whole experience went fairly well, as far as speed and that kind of thing and everything. And they didn't have this white truck for her. They had some other options, but he through that process found out really what she wanted.
What type of truck?
And they found one at another location and brought it over from Scottsdale. Yeah, so that worked out really, really good. So she's excited this morning. She already took it to get coffee because we were gone yesterday. We had to have my employee Brendan go get the truck and bring it home because we were We were at the game. What a great game last night. We were so excited that we got to go, and we were there very early. I found a new parking spot.
A new parking spot, really?
I found a new parking spot.
Okay.
If you go to State Farm Stadium, a new place to park where you can actually get the fuck out. And I'm not going to share it with the public. Privately, if you want to know, I'll tell you. But for the Cardinals, it took us a few weeks to figure out in the green lot where we had, our season pass, where to park there, but we figured it out.
Okay.
And then we used to previously for concerts and stuff, there is the outlet right there. And we would park in the outlet parking.
Oh,
you had to pay for it.
Gotcha.
Like $40. But it was a bitch getting out of there, man. It was just, and it took you the wrong direction and around and and I couldn't see, they didn't have the green lot highlighted for the bowl game. So I didn't know. So I just didn't buy it. And I just waited till I got there and found a lot. Which
kind of worked out for you.
And it worked out way the fuck better. Way, way better. A little bit more of a walk, but not very much, by much at all. So maybe a couple 100-yard difference or something. It was, you're a quarter mile from the stadium, maybe. When you park there. Yeah. Except that I'm old and my calves suck. And about 3/4 of the way there, my calves are like screaming at me. They're like this, so tight. Like, fuck, man. And then I got thinking about Pittsburgh and where we're going to park when we go to Pittsburgh. I'm like, I got to buy a gold lot pass. A parking pass for Pittsburgh is probably going to be, they used to be about $125 to get.
For just the parking?
For just the parking pass, because that was the place where you partied. That was the parking lot,
I guess you're right.
True tailgating, and way different than, they do a little tailgating here for the Cardinals, but it does not compare to Steeler, tailgating at all. So, but we got club seats in Pittsburgh too, so that's not really that important. We're not going to be tailgating. We're going to get there early and go sit in the club, hang out. I'm used to that now. I like that, it's like the difference between camping and being in a hotel. I'll take the hotel, at least for now. But the game and the Ole Miss people and the, every school has their own little traditions and chants that they do, which make it really good. And, you have with Alabama, of course, Roll Tide. And then with Ole Miss, it's Hotty Toddy. And they do this whole thing, much like Alabama. I think it's an SEC thing, honestly, where they kind of dress up for their games, like seriously dress up.
Like in a suit and tie, or what do you mean?
No, but they look nice. They have a certain look that they try to, like for Alabama, there's this like houndstooth colors that they wear.
It's more of a colorway, or is it like?
I will say this. Between the Miami women that were there last night and the Ole Miss women, you would think Miami would win because of Miami, in general. Not so. Not so for the football games or the school. The Ole Miss chicks were pretty nice. That's I'll put
it that way.
I'll put it that way. Nice boots. Just they looked nice without looking slutty, and they had a really good look. It really was interesting, and but the fans generally, you didn't have too many people being jerks like recently, at different games and stuff. So that was pretty much good too, and it was just a close game. And kicking became a big part of the game. A missed kick because the guy made a couple 50-yarders later, but they lose by a field goal, and they had missed a field goal. And their offense was Miami's offense was just better. They go whichever way Carson Beck goes. And he played a little bit better than he had recently. And when it came down to it at the important times of the game, that Trinidad Chambliss is, I think, got a lot of upside. He's a really, really solid guy back there for Ole Miss. But in this game, Carson Beck was the difference, I think, in the game. Both teams had, fairly good defenses. Miami too, and it was just enjoyable, like getting in the middle. And then I actually got treated pretty well for I wore my Notre Dame stuff. Okay, I have this nice Notre Dame sweatshirt, hat, and Notre Dame sweatpants, and Notre Dame Under Armour shoes. So I had the complete Notre Dame Under Armour look going on. And people would have to do double takes, but they got the whole thing because Miami pretty much jumped over Notre Dame to get into the playoffs. Okay. So that being kind of understood. And so it was a great conversation starter, and I love talking to people, especially these things. So that made it fun. But yeah, I don't know for the Miami people, how good weather-wise it was coming here, especially since we've had our first true week of winter and rain, this week. But still, at least for the Mississippi people, this is better. This is better. And the one other observation I made, so I went, one of the first times I came to Arizona, actually, I think it might have been the second time I came to Arizona, was in 2001 for the national championship game at ASU, at their Tempe Stadium, and it was Miami versus Ohio State. And it was very controversial at the end that Ohio State won on... Like
a ref call or something like that?
Still today. Super controversial call. But what struck me most about that particular game was two things. One, Miami doesn't travel well, and I can say they don't travel much better today. There was a decent amount of Miami fans there, but at the Ohio State-Miami game, dude, it was 90%, 10% Ohio State over Miami. Like, it was such a huge difference in that stadium. And then, Ohio State's known for having a great band. Okay. Like, maybe the best college band. They're big, they're loud, they do the Script Ohio. They're known as one of the best bands. Yeah. And for whatever reason, these idiots that put on the halftime show decided to put Miami's band after Ohio State's band, which would be the equivalent of having your headliner go out immediately at the beginning of a concert and then have, your openers as the later. Like, you don't do that. You build up to it because it looked so terrible after hearing this. They had such a small band, and they still have a small band. That's what I noticed last night, is the band was so small. I swear to God, my little school in Ohio, Genoa High School, I swear to God, our town of 2,200 has a bigger band than what Miami has. It almost embarrassed. In fact, I think Miami had almost the same number of cheerleaders as they did band members. That's how they had extra cheerleaders. The cheerleaders were nice. When I was talking about the band,
we got you.
We weren't talking about the cheerleaders. Although the Ole Miss cheerleaders too, like, it was, if you're a young guy, and if you're not, you're just a creepy old dude. So I'll wear that with pride.
Do you know why they call or why they chant "Hotty Toddy" at Ole Miss?
You got something for us?
It's an old drink they used to make back in the day. So and that became like their whole thing, is their game day drink was a Hotty Toddy. Okay. So now they chant it, they have it posted on their helmet, and it's the most random thing to have as a tradition at a university.
I totally agree.
But it's one of the best ones in my opinion. Yeah. Just because of Hotty Toddy.
And like the one family that Dawn and I talked to while we were waiting to go into the club and for them to let us in, she had they had these really nice felt hats that the women were wearing, and it even said Hotty Toddy on there, on their shirts and everything. Yeah, it is a thing.
It's a big to do over there. I had a girl that I was friends with. She was looking at Ole Miss to go there, but part of the reason she opted out to not go there is because the etiquette of dressing at football games. She didn't want to dress nice and make it a big to do. She wanted to have a little bit more fun than that. Not that they don't have fun, but Yeah, it's part of the reason. It is an SEC thing, but those Mississippi schools, Alabama, polos, khakis, like that's it's expected.
And that's such a big thing because my daughter graduated from Alabama. So remember like the cargo shorts? That was a big thing up north.
Yeah.
And they always knew where you were from if you wore those kind of shorts, because in Alabama, especially for their games, if guys wore shorts, they were more the plain front, dress golf type shorts is what they would wear. So definitely a difference. And the guys, wearing polos, they might wear a t-shirt, but they're still generally, they're not slobs.
Yeah.
They're not slobs. I mean, you always have your group of guys that are wearing whatever the school's color are, where they all wear those bibs and shit now and no shirts. Every school has that. But generally, it's a step up in the SEC because that's all in Alabama, especially, not necessarily Tennessee, but in Alabama, you have nothing else. There is there's not an nothing. NBA team.
There's nothing.
Okay, there's not Major League Baseball. In Mississippi, what do they got in Mississippi?
Nothing.
You got the Rebels, and it used to be that way in Nebraska when Nebraska was much better. But the whole state of Nebraska, those fuckers bleed red.
To this day.
To this day. Because that's all there is.
Yep.
That's all there is. That's their main focus of their sports. So
starting to turn it around there, but
we'll see.
Well, I think college football was at its best when Nebraska was a perennial team.
Well, it certainly was good then, and we thought that was going to be a good addition to the Big Ten. And since they moved to the Big Ten, they haven't been the same Nebraska. Same could maybe be said of Penn State to some degree. They've had a little bit of success, but not that real success that was really expected on a consistent basis. And then with the controversies they've had at the university, none of that helped either. And now with the addition of Oregon, hopefully, Oregon's been consistent.
Yeah, they're good no matter what.
Yeah, that's a good addition. USC has been fluctuating. It'd be good to see USC be USC again at some point. That used to be fun.
So congested in the Big Ten with quality programs to the point where like a lot of these, I just don't see a path for USC to ever overcome Ohio State and Oregon, even Indiana now. Like I just don't see the pathway for it unless they change the way they play.
Well, here's the thing. Since you do have an Indiana now, what Indiana shows is that it is possible. And what an Ole Miss shows is that it is possible. This idea that you have to be a coach or play at a certain school, that you have to be at Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, that you have to, that's just not the case.
That's what made Nick Saban want to retire. He saw it.
Yeah. Well, he saw the mess that this is creating. It's a mess. You just have this now where this quarterback, I believe from Washington,
Damon Williams.
Yeah, Damon Williams signed a contract, and within days of signing a contract, wants to leave. That's not how contracts work,
That's not how
dude.
this works, yeah.
That's not how contracts work.
And now it just came back that he's coming back to Washington. It's like, you're going to lose a bunch of money. Like, just honor your word. Yeah. That's all it is.
That's it. But then you got to think, too, do you want the kid back?
What kind of character is that showing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other part of that makes it bad. So that's the kind of stuff they got to figure out. And, I don't blame. Here's another interesting, you probably already know this. The other fact about Nick Saban in this semifinals, all 4 semifinal team head coaches have a connection to Nick Saban.
The tree.
And the weakest connection is with the Oregon head coach, Lanningham, because he was a grad assistant for 1 year for Alabama, where the other ones were offensive coordinators, assistant head coaches, so much more connected. In deep. But all 4 are connected.
Yeah,
to that. That's just the greatness of the greatest coach ever in college football, which is Nick Saban, and not debatable.
And that's just the coaches that are left competing still. That's not to mention all the other coaches that are out there, recruiting right now.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. His tree just goes. It's ridiculous.
It's so deep and across, and how successful those people have been. Obviously, it's not just that really elevates your own status when others that have been under you follow that same path. Really.
I think now more than ever, you got to be a special kind of crazy to be a college football coach, because it was hard previously. Because you used to be able to just hoard 5-star players if you could. Now it's
Ohio State was good at that.
Yeah, and it's like, and they're one of the outliers that are going to remain. They'll still have 5-star receivers because it's just the brand. And well, we'll see how it is with Brian Hartline moving on. See how that works out. But that brand is what attracts them. But now it's like, why is a 5-star player going to sit behind somebody for a year when they can get paid millions of dollars and play and boost their draft stock, boost, their earnings and everything like that. So it's so lawless right now, and it's going to take a while to really get everything kind of centered. But I like the direction that we're in. I mean, the potential of having the story of an Ole Miss and Indiana national championship. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better matchup, in my opinion. It's two underdog programs.
Yeah. But no, Miami's not a terrible story.
Yeah.
That'll still be solid, especially in relationship to the controversy about them getting in over Notre Dame. So, if they win it all, then you're going to have people say, see, we told you. But again, it still goes back to the fact that, pretty much everybody agreed, no matter whether you like or dislike Notre Dame, the biggest mistake the CFP committee made was not having Miami ahead of them. If head-to-head was so important, then it shouldn't have been the final poll, the very last poll, that Miami was ahead of them. They should have been ahead of Notre Dame previous to that. Maybe because of the losses, maybe not the whole time, but at least maybe, the three last polls, they should have been ahead of Notre Dame. And then there really would have been less controversy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Even you'd still feel disappointed if you were a Notre Dame fan, but you would accept that, we had these 2 losses. This is where we're at. But when you're in the top 12 and you're at number 9, you do expect to go.
Yeah,
you do expect to go.
And I was actually all in for Notre Dame to get in over Miami, actually. I just thought throughout the course of the year, they had shown more. They showed to be the better team. They're more dominant. And I think that if they played again, Notre Dame would have housed them.
I think the same thing.
But I think it's just it's unfortunate for these mid-major schools, because they're gonna be the first one to get the boot out, because if you ask the College Football Playoff Committee, who do you want, a rematch of Miami and Notre Dame again, or a Miami versus Tulane, a Miami versus a James Madison?
And that's where we've talked, like where we've talked about different strategies. Maybe there is another level of playoffs for those groups of. Oh, my phone. Now y'all know what my phone sounds like. But Leo and I talked about this, like maybe it could also be like soccer, which would be interesting, where you got maybe 60, 70 teams, and then you have your top 32, and then you move in and out of that top 32 from year to year, earn your way into that top 32 to be able to compete in that. Just, I don't know. But then for the other group, there'd be a playoff for them as well. Yeah. I mean, there are already playoffs for, what is it, FAIA or FCB, and, you have the FCS.
I love FCS ball. Love it.
Yeah. I mean, so you already have that. You need the bigger group here needs to be split again, too. Yeah. They've done it in high school. Yeah. This is what you need to do in college ball, too.
And it's like they have it figured out
for everybody.
They have it figured out at every single level of this, except college football. I mean,
and there would be more money. There would actually be more money. That's the one way that there would, if you have another playoff system, it's going to be even more money. And, the networks will take it because,
absolutely.
A shitty viewed football game is still better than almost anything else.
Programming, yeah.
Exactly.
People just throw it on just to have it on in the background, whether they have a dog in the fight or not. But moving to the 16 team, I think is right now is that sweet spot, because it still gives that room for those mid majors, give them a chance, because even though they're getting creamed, you never know. Like there's always any given Sunday type of mentality. I think it just gives them that opportunity to still compete, and you still have those major programs that don't get left out, like a Notre Dame like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, they got left out. Texas could make a good case. A lot of people thought Notre Dame should have been in over Alabama. Mm-hmm. But if you beat Georgia in the regular season at Georgia and you do make the championship game, you're usually not penalized if you're the SEC school that loses in the SEC final.
Yeah.
That's just usually not a thing. You don't get penalized for that. Playing an extra game that other people aren't even playing.
Yeah.
And I would almost I would rather there not be any league championship games like that anymore. I wish they would just do away with it, and you just have your regular season, and who's ever the best in the regular season, and whatever your tiebreaker rules are, they are, and that's your champion winner for the year. I mean, you do that in the NFL. I mean, there are only 4-team divisions, but whoever has the best record in the division is the division champion. They don't take the top 2 and play one more game. I mean, it's silly. So, yeah. So that's a lot about football, but I love talking about football. I could do a whole show. We could just do football, honestly. So I appreciate that and your input in there too, Mike.
Not a problem.
But the stories of the day, obviously, we got to get to. And let me first just start by saying I think it's absolutely tragic what happened. I have not, I do not rejoice. I'm not happy about what happened. I'm not celebrating. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying that this Renee Good, that she deserved it. Oh, she deserved it. Like, they said Charlie deserved it. Nothing like that. I don't believe that at all. I think she brought the situation onto herself, and I feel bad for that. And we all make choices, and I've made choices, and I've been very open about my life on the program. And I made bad choices, and I got really bad outcomes when I made those bad choices. And I had to work through those, at least thankfully. They didn't end up being life or death like it was in this case. But, it certainly could have been. It certainly could have been with the things that I was, involved in. I'm just glad that it wasn't. But you don't have a guarantee of that. You don't know how that is going to work out. You don't get to kick out law enforcement. That's not a thing. Not if you're the mayor, not if you're the governor. And we said this was going to happen eventually. I actually expected and still expect an ICE officer to be shot and killed. I don't think they've been shot, but not. There hasn't been
intensive care, but I think they pulled through.
Yeah, I don't believe anybody has died, but they've definitely been attacked. And you and I did that where we were both absolutely shocked that the number of confrontations and violent confrontations between protesters and ICE, the numbers, or DHS, they're not showing everything in the media. And when we dug it up, and especially in Dallas, wasn't it in Dallas that there were so many, I believe? There was like a shit ton that was happening around the federal building in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Texas. I'm not surprised there's a lot of things going on there just because, I mean, it's like one of the highest states involved in like cartel and stuff like that. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Texas.
No, but it was a lot. But I'm just saying they're not all being reported. People don't hear how much is really going on and how much under attack they really are. You're hearing occasional stories when the actual truth is it's 20 times that, 20 times or more. It's a lot. And in this case, there's more context that needs to be added to this case. It's not just about what happened on that video and from every angle that we have now. And I think people that want to support the ICE officer, maybe some people are talking a little bit too quickly in defense of what he did. And certainly 100% people are talking way too quickly in defense of the woman or blaming ICE way too quickly. That that was immediate reaction.
Just so I have this, because maybe I'm confusing this one. Is this the situation where there was two people in the front car? No, that happened in Arizona. Never mind. Ignore me. Continue.
No, there was the Portland one yesterday, and then a couple days ago was the Minneapolis. It was Renee Good. And the interesting thing about, well, all of a sudden you hear about Renee Good and they start putting more context into who she is. And so she had been previously married, I believe twice. So I don't know that much about her first relationship with her husband, but her second husband, I believe, just passed away back in 2023. He passed away. And pretty quickly after that, she developed a relationship with another partner, a woman, and that person is being called her wife, but I don't know if they're legally husband and or wife or whatever the fuck they call it. I don't know.
So what does that have anything to do with the whole ICE thing, though? That's the part.
I'm just saying it's being right. Well, I'm just saying it's been brought up, and it's been brought up because that in the context of the wife making statements that she was blaming herself for the reason that Renee was there, that she was kind of pushing her to be there. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was a gay relationship. It was just the fact that it could have been a husband, it could have been a man, and them saying it was my fault, I was encouraging her to be there. It's just happens to be
they're diverting the attention is what they're doing. It's I understand like where they're coming from, but it's exactly how basically what you're pointing out here. They're bringing out all this specific information about who she is, her relationship status, her sexual orientation, because they know that targets and triggers and triggers empathy from a certain demographic.
Certainly.
And those ones are the ones who are the loudest on social media and the mainstream media, and that's who they get their narrative out first before anyone else.
And this isn't her first time doing what she did. Like these. So what happened is ICE was making some arrests.
Okay.
And what happens now is you have these different groups that are putting out alerts. Okay, they're working literally every day, and because ICE is specifically come in numbers recently to Minneapolis.
It's illegal, by the way, for them to do that.
Yes, it is illegal for them to do that. That they are, making announcements. They're getting people together, and they're sending people. So you're part of the group. I'm a coordinator. I put out to everyone, hey, ICE is at this location. They're targeting these people, trying to rally to get 10, 20, 30, whatever people can leave and go at that time to go and get there and to interfere and to try to stop them. And we've seen it. You and I have both pulled up videos where people are hanging on vans. They're getting in front of them and practically getting run over. And, they were doing that. They were trying to stop them to getting into the facilities, federal buildings. They were trying to stop them, the ICE vehicles from leaving the facilities. Just everything about that. And she was a part of that. So part of what she was doing, this was a regular thing that she did. This wasn't an accident in one day that she happened to be a part of this or she was at the wrong place at the wrong time. She chose to be there on purpose and she chose to interfere. Now, with all that being said, that doesn't mean I think she deserved to die. It's tragic that she died. I am not going to say that she deserved it, but I'm going to simply point out there are fucking consequences. Sometimes there are deadly consequences to this kind of stuff.
One of my favorite sayings ever, Troy. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah. And that is, that's definitely this. And she had been following them for some time before they were at this location and they were surrounding the ICE vehicles and the ICE agents and had them kind of boxed in. And they finally had enough of dealing with her over several times. And they were just going to arrest her for interfering finally. And here's the thing. They should not have been the ones there. The ICE agents To me, it shouldn't have been their job to arrest her. That should have been the job of the Minneapolis Police Department.
Yep.
Okay, but they don't want to work with ICE. Don't work with ICE. But you have an obligation to protect your citizens and to protect these agents from being attacked. They should be referee or whatever, come in there and split these groups up, saying they should be there to say, okay, you want to protest? There, protest over here on this corner. You have every right to be here, protest. You don't have a right to be in the middle of the road, and you don't have the right to get in and try to block and body them and hit them and push them and try to stop them in a physical way. Man, when's the last time that any three of us have gotten in? You think, well, okay, me. Okay, let's just go with me. I mean, even I know what would happen. And I've had to restrain myself from, wanting to tussle with a police officer. But I'm thankfully a little bit smarter than that. I've never resisted. That doesn't mean I didn't want to, that doesn't mean I haven't I've come across great cops, good cops, and bad cops. And sometimes they have an attitude and sometimes I do too. But I got to check mine, because the consequences are going to be worse for me.
It's a losing battle for you no matter what.
No matter what. No matter what. So I just got to acknowledge that and just do that. But you don't get to, I can't imagine getting physical with a police officer and something not happening to me.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Absolutely.
being arrested or cuffs or slammed to the ground. I just can't imagine that happening. I would expect it to happen.
And that's kind of the sickness of social media these days. They feel like a camera is somehow a lawyer, that it just exonerates them and protects them from anything, and that they don't have to listen to any sort of law enforcement. And I think that's part of the issue with this ICE situation, is that, how you mentioned, there's so much more confrontation because the traditional average American, they don't see ICE as your regular police officer. The way they see it, they see them as just a regular everyday person, but they are given that authority. And it's like, it's a fine line to walk, but at the same time, like you said, Minneapolis law enforcement doesn't have the best track record, but they have to be policed in some way so it doesn't escalate in the manner that it has now.
Yeah, absolutely. They have to do that. And the rallying cry now is to basically have another 2020, have this be what sets off another George Floyd incident. And what happened when that happened? Minneapolis fucking burned for a few fucking days, burned before they took action. And that was innocent business owners, their businesses, innocent people hurt and killed because of their peaceful protests that were anything but fucking peaceful. And that's what they're trying to stir up again by, after this, instead of de-escalating yesterday, it all got escalated higher by immediately calling this ICE agent a murderer. This ICE agent, 6 months ago, was involved in a situation, I believe that the target was maybe somebody who had either had a record or was wanted with some type of endangerment of a child. I'm thinking just off the top of my head, but it was some pretty serious stuff. Okay,
was it the kid's birthday party one? That one when they showed up to that?
I don't.
And it was nothing but Tren de Aragua.
Yeah, I'm not
members?
sure.
Oh, okay.
It could have been, but I'm just saying. But they tried to arrest this guy, and so he got caught up with the car, and the car dragged him anywhere from 50. I've heard anywhere from 50 to 100 feet. I've heard both.
That's brutal either way.
And like 30 some stitches in his leg. I've heard stitches in his arm, but he was seriously injured in a case that he wasn't just arresting somebody who crossed the border illegally. He was arresting somebody who crossed the border illegally and then also committed other crimes, because that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe ICE is really, they say that they're targeting the really bad guys, but really they're just taking all of these people who just came into the country illegally. Well, here's the thing. If if these mayors, if these governors would actually cooperate in the way that they should and legally cooperate, and that when when somebody is arrested for burglary, when somebody is arrested for assault, who's an illegal alien, and ICE has a detainer and gives it to them, instead of releasing them, if they just held them, then these worst of the worst could be gotten without any confrontation. ICE could just pick them up at the jail and then take them. But instead, what happens is they get released into the public, and then then ICE has to go find them. And in the process of trying to find them, if somebody else, if you're illegal and you're hanging around with somebody who's done way much more illegal shit than you might get caught up in that.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to take both of you. So if they wanted that to be, if the left truly wanted this to be about really a focus on the worst of the worst, they would allow them to pick up the worst of the worst in the easiest, safest way for everybody, for the person they're picking up, for the protesters, for everybody, for the ICE agent themselves. They wouldn't be putting themselves in danger, the same type of danger when you're picking somebody up at a jail that they're already being held in. And what good reason do they just get released without bond? Like serious shit.
It's funny you bring that up because I'm sure you've seen the video, but there was a video of an obvious liberal woman. She was in front of one of those vans escorting these gang members to be deported out. Her along with a group of other people. She's literally screaming in front of the car, screaming, "Let go of my people, let go of my people." Little does she know, it's literally filled with Tren de Aragua gang members being deported because of the things that they're doing, not only here, but in Venezuela as well. So it's like, I don't understand how you could obstruct somebody that's getting rid of the worst of the worst. Now, don't get me wrong. They make mistakes, like stuff happens, but you can't just see a van and just assume that it's just full of innocent people that have wronged.
Yeah, they were trying to pry her hands off. It was just ridiculous.
And it got to a point where they're just laughing at her.
Fucking tase that damn bitch, okay, and arrest her. This just shouldn't be. But again, the ICE agents shouldn't have to deal with that. That is where local law enforcement, needs to do their job. That's not them assisting ICE and making an arrest. It's just their job, serving the public and keeping people fucking safe. What is disagreeable about that? And we did. Yeah. Leo did post or do that video that you're talking about, Mike. That is one that we shown and talked about in a previous podcast, where that woman was hanging on and yelling and stuff like that. So yeah, we did talk about that particular incident. This one here, I dug in a little bit. I'm not an expert on Minneapolis law. But I did have this.
Start a daycare, you'll get rich.
It is a little bit. It seems like it's in this incident. If you just the incident itself is a little bit of a gray area, and we're gonna have to have more information, more investigation to see where it likely falls. Because there can be a case kind of made on both sides. That I can say this, that ICE agent didn't get up that morning hoping to shoot someone.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. It's like he's not actively seeking that out, but
not at all.
Well, it's like the thing is like, they're not actively seeking that out, but just like any normal person, when they're in a high emotion, high intense situation, your natural fight or flight instincts kick in. And if it comes down to a situation in which you feel that your life is in danger, sometimes they act out of character. And not that he should have shot her and killed her, but when emotions run high, people do things that they never thought they would have done in a million years.
So Leo knows that I check when it doesn't matter which side posts some meme or some content. I fact check it myself. And so I fact checked this that was talking about a particular statute And here's what was said, that this bill was signed into law by Governor Walz, a member of the DFL party, on July 23rd, 2020, following a special legislative session. Minnesota statutes 609.066. If a driver accelerates towards an officer standing in front of the vehicle, this creates an immediate life-threatening danger. The officer doesn't need to wait until impact. They can act based on apparent intent and proximity. So I wanted to find out if that was actually true or not. And so I did find out if it was true. So here's the actual law. It is 609.066, and what it is and what it isn't, based on the claim that was posted on Facebook in this meme. What it is it's a statute about police use of deadly force. It defines when an officer's use of deadly force is legally justified in Minnesota. Specifically, it says deadly force by a cop is justified only when necessary to protect the officer or another from death or great bodily harm. So they don't have to fear that you're going to kill them. But, you know, just like this officer had been dragged before, that's great damage. Bodily harm.
Yeah.
And having that already had that experience in this case, we have to understand that that had an impact on this guy. And like I said, maybe he shouldn't have been back on the job that quickly, or maybe never again.
From a mental
I don't know. From a mental aspect, I'm just trying to be smart about this on my own analysis of this. I'm not blaming him or saying that, but that is going to color you. Your life experience colors you, right? To arrest, capture, or prevent escape of someone who has committed or attempted a felony involving use, threat of deadly force. So there was no felony here. So that wouldn't have been that. Or actually, well, the vehicle, you know, I got into it with someone here in Arizona not long after I moved here, and the dude got in his car behind me, you know, after we had a little bit of a confrontation, and like he was going to follow me, and I backed up, and then he went back, and then I went forward, and he followed me again. I backed up again, and it was alleged that, you know, I was charged with use of a deadly weapon, the truck that I was in.
Yeah.
Now, all the charges got dropped like a day because it was all bullshit, you know? So just because somebody gets charged does not mean they're guilty, and I can prove that. I've been through that kind of stuff. So, yeah, totally dropped. You know, they wanted to maybe make a deal before that. I'm like, I'm not making a deal. I'm going to court. Like, this is total bullshit.
Oh, yeah,
and then a day before, they just didn't have a case. But that was actually, you know, a charge of a felony. Using your vehicle can be considered a deadly weapon.
That's for protests as well.
Yeah. So to arrest, capture of someone the officer reasonably believes will cause death or great bodily harm if not immediately stopped. What the statute does not say, it does not specifically mention a driver accelerating toward an officer. It does not say police may shoot simply because a vehicle is moving towards them, or if the situation presents an imminent threat or death of great bodily harm based on what a reasonable officer perceives. And that's the catch in this law is, what would a reasonable officer expect or think in this particular situation? So Minnesota's law is interpreted under reasonable officer standard. And that's where any reasonable cop would believe that under the circumstances, not with the benefit of hindsight, but being there and making a second decision within 2.5 seconds, right? This is consistent with broader U.S. legal standards on police use of deadly force. So what is true? It is true that this was updated in 2020 and governs cops' use of deadly force. What's not accurate to say is that the law automatically allows an officer to shoot any driver who accelerates towards them. The law still requires a reasonable belief of imminent death or great bodily harm. The assessment is based on totality of the circumstances, not just the movement of the vehicle. And that also has to do with, possibly being able to move to the side, and different aspects of the angle of this look like it's more turned towards him on purpose, and other people say not. But more angles and more video keeps coming forward. So do I think this guy should be charged as of now? No. More evidence may come to show that. We'll have to see and wait on that. But that still doesn't change the fact of the things that this woman did, and that she was a part of this group doing this on a regular basis. And I had a story on that too with her, what the wife had to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Chime in on that with a lot of these laws and statutes. It's tough because a lot of it does come down to interpretation of the situation. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and when it comes to interpretation, there's only two people or a group of people that actually know how the situation went down. They obviously are going to perceive it differently.
Absolutely.
But then you have the outsiders who are hearing about it that weren't involved, and they're outraged because of their perception of it. So it's like when it really boils down to it, there's only a couple people that know how that shit went down and what was the best course of action.
Well, in the immediate response, that's just terrible, is that calling them Gestapo, calling them Nazis, and doing that previous to that. That is what has escalated this entire situation to this even being a situation in the first place. The first assumption by that group of people, whether you're a part of the group that's protesting or you support the protesters, either one, is your assumption is that every ICE officer is Gestapo, that they're somehow Trump's little henchmen trying to hurt people. There is no pretty way to do mass deportation. It does not exist. There is no pretty way. And you can protest all you want. You do not have a legal right, and they've been allowed to do it for too long. And because they've allowed it, and I put that on the people in charge, including the cops, but not the cops out on the street. I'm talking about the cops that are sitting at a desk making the decisions, the captains or whatever, the heads of the police or the chief of police departments and things like that. I put it on them for not pushing the political side, the mayors, the governors enough that this cannot happen, that they need to do their job and protect everyone. That we've allowed too many people to not just protest, but literally interfere and get physical. And then if you allow it, well, then they're going to expect that they can do it again and again, and they're going to keep pushing. They're going to keep pushing the edge, and now they've pushed the edge, and one of theirs has been killed. And the next thing is one more of theirs could be killed. Or what the next thing could be is an ICE officer or agent or DHS agent could be killed. But it's going to happen if we continue in this direction, if this rhetoric continues at this level, when you have people in the fucking Senate and the House just attacking these guys and attacking this guy, again, as a murderer. I think even if he were to get charged, it would be, because I'm not an attorney, it'd be like one of the charges where like it's not intentional kind of thing. Is that manslaughter?
Involuntary manslaughter is
something like that.
On accident, when you kill someone on accident.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not but he reasonably believed that he was at risk.
Yeah, that's where it comes down to. It's like and another thing, kind of talking where my previous point is you're now Janae
Good's wife claimed Minneapolis shooting was my fault in video amid anti-ICE fury. Department of Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem has characterized the shooting of the Minneapolis woman by the federal agent as an act of domestic terrorism, alleging the driver had been stalking, impeding, and blocking ICE officers for hours leading up to the incident.
That's what she was doing to them.
Yeah, that's what she was doing to them. Video from the scene shows Renee Good's wife, Rebecca Brown Good, in distress immediately after the shooting, saying that she encouraged Renee to attend the location where the ICE agents were operating. In the video taken by Big Sleaze Yup, swear to God, that's the thing. That's who did the video, Big Sleaze. She can be heard saying, "I made her come down here. It's my fault." While Noem and Trump have framed Good as a professional agitator intent on harming agents, family members are disputing that characterization. Good's mother told the Star Tribune that Renee would never have been part of anything like that and described her as compassionate and non-confrontational. Well, I know the mom wants to believe that about her kid,
yeah, good.
but again, she wasn't there by accident. She found out through some organization or some group that they have, whatever they use, Signal or whatever they use, WhatsApp, to put out their little blurbs and, hey, we need help in this particular area. She went there for the purpose of interfering. So we know that what the mom thinks right here is it's not accurate. It's what any good mom would want to think, and I
Absolutely.
totally understand that. So I'm not attacking the mother, but sometimes you got to realize the truth about your kid.
It's a hard one to swallow sometimes.
Yeah, Renee Good had ties to an organized anti-ICE network in Minneapolis that trains participants to monitor and interfere with ICE. With their operations. She was trained. They told her what to do. They told her where to go, and she did it. The blood is on those motherfuckers' hands. That's who's to blame. According to the Post, Good became involved with a group known as ICE Watch, a loose coalition dedicated to documenting, disrupting ICE activity in the sanctuary city. And that shit needs to end too. I'm over the sanctuary city bullshit. I mean, it just needs...
Ask Europe how that's going.
I don't know what we need to do in federal law or if Congress has to pass a law or what has to be done, but this sanctuary city shit needs to end, period. There's no local law that supersedes, at least as far as I understand. If I'm wrong, some attorney want to tell me, please do, that supersedes federal law. Where is that? I don't know where that is. Similar ICE Watch-style networks have emerged nationwide and have previously been linked to confrontations with agents, including incidents involving vehicles used to block or strike officers. This is not the first time. In fact, it wasn't the first time for this officer who shot to be involved with a vehicle, and previously the vehicle did great bodily harm to him. He had every reason to believe that this vehicle could do the same thing to him. The Post reported that Good became connected to the group through her son's charter school, Southside Family Charter. Too bad that her son wasn't more important to her than some illegal criminal that she didn't know, which publicly promotes social justice curriculum and involvement in political activism. Yeah, that's what we need. We need more schools like that because we don't have enough of them with all the fucking colleges out here. Right?
There's a very obvious theme that when I read these stories, especially the ones that it's just the chronological order of how they do this. You notice how they put all of the, I guess we'll say, in a way, incriminating evidence of Renee. They put it towards the bottom.
Yes.
But the very beginning, they paint her as, it's basically, they made it out to be a lesbian love story and that you want to be heartbroken that it's no longer a thing because, a Republican Trump henchman killed her. That's like what my biggest issue is all it takes is for somebody who is a Democrat, they'll read that first paragraph about her explaining her background, how she's gay, this and that, and then they automatically form their opinion based off that. They're like, oh, she was good. he was bad. That's literally how it goes. And it's this.
That's if they get past the headline.
Yeah, if they get past, or the first couple sentences. And that's what pisses me off about this.
Almost, it's really, people should read backwards.
Yeah.
And the very first thing you should do is go to the last paragraph.
But
that's one of the most important things. And they always put one of the most important elements of the story very last, which is what you were trying to get to.
If a white gentleman commits a very heinous crime, that is the very first thing that it's in the headline, and it is within that first paragraph. I've seen it so many times. And, you know, I hate to throw the race card in there, but sometimes that's just where it leads down. And it's blatant, in my opinion, very blatant these days.
Very. A woman identified, multiple sources told the outlet that Good received training on how to engage with ICE officers during enforcement actions. A woman identified as Lisa told the Post at a vigil held at the shooting site that Good was a warrior. She was trained against these ICE agents to listen to commands, to know your rights, to whistle when you see an ICE agent. Another vigil attendee told the Post that Good was part of a coordinated ICE watch team and that members routinely spent time together outside of enforcement actions. Southside Family Charter School's website states that it offers an academically challenging, socially conscious education and describes its curriculum as centered on social justice. I have a problem with that, just the whole thing. You know what education should be centered around? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Math. That's it. Teach people how to do those things.
Developing the brain, not trying to persuade them.
Not at that age.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Just crazy.
I thought my school was teaching me some crazy shit at a young age. I can't even imagine going to school today.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what you're supposed to figure out.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Howland High School. It's in Warren, Ohio. We were a Division I team or Division I school.
Well, that's a big school then.
We have a pretty big school. I had a pretty big graduating class, but you know, it wasn't that like,
because then you guys were playing the Jesuit schools and shit like that. Yeah, you playing the big boys.
We played what was it? Chardon.
Yeah.
Chardon one year. Actually, the year that they had that school shooting. But they kicked our tail up and down the field. Bet. That was their year. But yeah, I mean, even that school was just it wasn't very one way or the other in terms of liberal versus like Republican. It was very chill, like in terms of letting you figure out what you want, who you are, and everything like that. Like obviously you go through the growing pains of high school, but it's just now it's just like you almost don't even have a chance. It's like whatever your parents are, that's what you are.
I can tell you this, you know, in the little school that I went to, the only controversial thing that ever really happened was levy votes. And where maybe the teachers were going to be going on strike.
Yeah.
And so somehow it got around the school that at a certain time, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, all the students were going to walk out in support of the teachers.
Yeah.
And we all did.
Yeah.
Not because we supported. Most of us didn't do it because we supported the teachers. We didn't even know what the fuck was going on. We didn't. We just knew we weren't going to have to be in classroom and we were going to get to go the fuck outside, which is what we did. Yeah. That's as politically active as we were.
Yeah.
And that was at high school age.
Now you have kids literally calling their principal fascists and Nazis. Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck?
So, First Alert in St. Louis confirmed with the Missouri Department of Revenue that the Missouri license plate on the red Honda Pilot driven by Renee Good at the time of the incident was registered to 2 people in Kansas City. Former neighbors told local media outlets that the couple relocated multiple times over the past year, including moving to Canada after the election. See, so they were so upset. That's how involved these people were. They were so upset about Trump winning that they moved to Canada. But then, apparently Canada isn't all that it's cracked up to be because they fucking moved back.
I used to vacation to Canada every summer. Beautiful, beautiful country. The land is just gorgeous. People, though, for the most part, their views suck. They're nice people, but they're just super liberal, and it's almost like they have legal assisted suicide. This lady was paralyzed. Now her quality of life wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. but she couldn't get their help quick enough for their free healthcare service. I don't know how it works, but she, instead of living in pain, she was like, I'm not going to wait for this. It's quicker for me to get assisted suicide and for them to kill me. And she opted for that instead. And it's like, how the fuck do you want to live somewhere where it's like, hey, you either die or you just wait 10, 15 years to get what you want, to get help.
Suffer. Renee was previously married to Tim Macklin Jr., a comedian who died in 23. Before the fatal encounter, the couple managed Be Good Handiwork, business registered in Kansas City, Missouri. And there was a name change. So, like, I don't think, this whole relationship thing is, like, I don't know that it was, like, official, but.
Well, it's official enough for them to try to get them riled up. That's all that matters.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And then on top of this, right, then we have another one that happens in Portland yesterday. And that was similar incident with the vehicle. I think I have that story here. Let me see if I can. Yep, here we go. This is AP story. Federal agents shot and wounded 2 people in a vehicle outside of a hospital in Portland. And that's a day after the woman, Renee Good, was shot in Minnesota. The shooting drew hundreds of protesters in the U.S. to the U.S. ICE building at night, and Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield vowed to investigate whether any federal officer acted outside the scope of their lawful authority and refer criminal charges to the prosecutor's office if warranted. The Department of Homeland Security said the vehicle's passenger was a Venezuelan illegal alien affiliated with Tren de Aragua prostitution ring who was involved in a recent shooting in the city. So he'd also been, besides being a gang member, he'd been involved in the shooting and also prostitution. When agents identified themselves as the occupants during the targeted stop, the driver tried to run them over. Fearing for his life and safety, an agent fired a defensive shot. The driver drove off with the passenger, fleeing the scene. But this is interesting how the AP frames this. There was no immediate independent corroboration of the account. Well,
So how was there immediate independent corroboration of Renee's situation?
Right. During prior shootings involving agents, including the fatal one Wednesday in Minneapolis, video evidence has cast doubt. So they already want you to assume that, they immediately put ICE as the bad guys. And Trump and his allies have consistently blamed the Tren de Aragua gang for being at the root of violence and drug dealing in the U.S. The Portland shooting escalates tensions in a city that has long had a contentious relationship with Trump, including due to the recent failed effort to deploy National Guard troops there. The city saw long-running nightly protests outside the ICE building. According to the police bureau, officers initially responded to a report of a shooting. A few minutes later, police received information the man who had been shot was asking for help in a residential area a couple of miles away. Officers went there, found a man and a woman with gunshot wounds. They determined they were injured in the shooting with the agents. Their conditions not immediately known. Portland police said officers applied a tourniquet to one of them. City Council President Elena Pertogini said during a meeting that as far as we know, both of these individuals are still alive and we're hoping for more positive updates throughout the afternoon. Nighttime news conference, Police Chief Bob Day said the FBI was leading the investigation. He had no details about the event that led to it. Mayor and the city council called on ICE to end all operations in Oregon.
Can I just say
something?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Say something about just Portland and Seattle in general. Those cities are absolute shitholes. Like shitholes. They get up in arms about these things just because they're liberal. That's just how those cities are.
Yeah.
And they literally are stepping over homeless people who OD'd right in the middle of the street. There's their own vomit and shit that they're laying in. They're stepping over them, not calling for any help. That's an American an American right there dying in front of you, but yet you're protesting and doing all this for Tren de Aragua illegal immigrants that are causing shootings in sex trafficking rings. That's like it's lunacy. It's absolute lunacy.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
They put themselves in a position to defend the things that 90% of us think are just reprehensible. And that's why they lost the election. And the one thing that they're doing now that I mentioned, I think the other day when Leo and I were chatting, is that there was a little bit of there was a definite, it still is, some friction inside the Republican Party. In a number of different people and who you're aligned with in the Republican Party. But right now, you're bringing all those people together to fight one common enemy, and that is the lunatic left. Wilson also suggested at the news conference he does not necessarily believe the federal government's account of the shooting. You know, it's just in the way they phrase things.
Oh, yeah. That's
When they just want, get the hell out of here.
That's how they form your opinion. Or try to.
Yeah. So this is where we're at with this. It's a terrible thing. It's terrible that we have really what I think are traitors to the U.S. and the way that they're acting, and their actions speak even more loudly than their words. And it's because of them that ICE has been a target. And it's never bad to kill a Nazi, right? So if these ICE agents are Nazis, then, it's free reign on them, right? We do have a video that I found that I wanted Leo to play that I thought was very interesting twist and how this was presented. And you just judge for yourself what you think about this. And then, of course, drop it down in the comments. We want to know what you think about what's going on. Go ahead and hit us. Yeah, that she didn't see that coming.
I love how all it took was a nose ring and a shitty pink bandana to put her guard down. That's fucking hilarious.
Well, but his voice, remember I told you about his voice? When he first started, it changed halfway through.
And then like,
but
shit.
But it started out a little bit effeminate there. He did a great job. and used her own words and thought process and logic against him.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts how as soon as he started asking the questions that she was asking, it's like, oh, who are you? Where are your papers? Your ID? This and that. It's like, so we do care about, knowing who is on our property and on this and that. So it's just like he used her logic against her perfectly. Now the worst part about that is she's gonna go and probably just tell the biggest lie about what just happened.
But there's video.
But there's video, and thank God this time there's video. But that's absurd. I can't believe that it's where do you teach the values of right and wrong then? If it's really about what I want rather than what's right, then just be upfront about it. Just be like, hey, We don't care what you think is right. This is what we want to do. Don't advertise, say, oh yeah, everybody's welcome here except ICE. Like what logic is that? That's not everyone.
Well, I don't know if you heard too that it was also in Minnesota where that some hotel wasn't going to let federal agents rent hotel rooms. I don't know how they can do that, but they had a contract, and I think it was a Hilton chain, so it was like the IHG. Which, I had recently booked, and if I'd have known that before, I wouldn't have. Yeah, fuck that, man. I wouldn't have booked. Yeah, I think that's just terrible.
All those Somalis. Sorry, we can't book your room. We're giving all to the Somalians. Sorry about it.
Let's see.
We did have a comment from Bob.
Oh, we did. We have Bob. Bob's commenting again. Bob's commenting every day. I appreciate you, Bob. What's Bob got?
First comment, he said, it's very sad what happened. I'm assuming he's talking about the Renee situation. Bottom line, you don't comply, there are consequences. So almost like Bob's a logical thinking person.
Yes. Yes, he is. And that is true. And we want you to participate in the show. Drop questions when you participate. Please take some of the great content that the guys have been putting out. The clips and stuff, share that. Contact me on other social media as well. We definitely look forward to talking to you there. I was going to get into the food thing, but I think I'm going to hold that off until Monday because that's not, it's not something that is, even though it's something that's a current event with JFK Jr. now flipping the food pyramid, it's not something that's like, has to be now or it's going to lose its power or interest, basically. And I would like to spend some more time on that and probably maybe start with that on Monday. So join us for that because that is my special passion, is helping people with their health, with their fitness, and men being men. And for men to be men, you need testosterone. And so we want to talk a little bit about that on Monday. Or I will when I'm when I'm in Pittsburgh, but they'll be here keeping track of me, and we'll get it done. We'll do same time, which means I will be probably it'll be 11 o'clock Pittsburgh time for me to be on at 9 here. So still expect about 9 o'clock Arizona time that the program will go. We try to stay consistent with that. Or our few minutes after 9. But I should be able to do better starting on time. And much more to come, more changes. We're totally excited about what's going on here. We hope you feel a part of that excitement as well. We want you to be part of the team and go along for the ride. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it.